right, good evening. Welcome to the Inland Wetlands Agency meeting as of October 4th. It is 7 o'clock. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I'm going to start by introducing everybody. We have Phyllis Berger, Leonard Salter, Don Fimister. I'm Kristen Chantrell, Doreen Ryan, Sam Sims, Greg McIntyre. We have our Inland Wetlands official, Gary Gashel. Sue Sprang is our recording secretary. I see we have Nancy Kalal and Diane Garner today as our alternates. And from the Board of Selectmen, we have Ange Kello. All right, I think that's good for introductions. So we're going to start with public delegations. Public delegations is the time when members of the public are invited to speak to the Commission about certain matters. Issues or concerns related to approved wetland permits and in-house proposals or general topics of discussion are open to comment. Agenda items, referrals, applications subject to a decision by the Commission, a public hearing, or in litigation may not be discussed. The members of the Commission will not directly answer questions or make comment during delegations. Do we have anybody here that would like to speak to something not on the agenda for this evening? You could, yeah, sorry about that. You could just state your name. Name and address, please.
My name is Ronald Lewich. I live at 13 Eden Lane, East Lyme. I am here this evening with my fellow board member Art Carlson in my capacity as president of the East Lyme Land Trust. I am pleased to report that last week the East Lyme Land Trust finalized its acquisition of the Hathaway property. This acquisition was 30 years in the making. And as we have previously discussed with you, this property has been the #1 ranked property identified for preservation by the town of East Lyme. Their plan of conservation and development in both 2009 and 2020. In addition, as of last Thursday, we finally obtained the planning department's approval to complete a land swap agreement for identically sized parcels of land, 6 acres of land, with the estate of Stephen Hathaway that had been in process since April. This land swap will enhance the property acquired by our land trust and provide additional privacy to the abutting landowner who is the heir to the Stephen Hathaway estate. It is a win-win for both property owners. Our land trust paid fair market value for the Hathaway property. The price was determined by a yellow book appraisal prepared for the land trust by a respected, deep approved appraiser. We expect to make the property available to the public access sometime next spring or early summer. Once we finalize a deep open space grants obtained for the property, we could make that take that action. I will note that under the terms of the bridge loan used to acquire the property, we are forbidden from allowing the public access to the property until the loan is paid. With regard to this acquisition, I would like to publicly thank Deep Commissioner Catherine Dykes, who greatly facilitated the acquisition of this property by approving our closing on the property with a bridge loan. I also would like to enter into the record of this meeting a copy of the Commissioner Dykes' letter approving our request to close on the Hathaway property prior to the 2022 open space grant application deadline. Pertinent parts of the letter say, I quote, "I am happy to approve this request, enabling this time-sensitive closing to take place and to protect this property as open space for public access and recreational purposes in perpetuity. End of quote. This allowed us to both close on the property and submit an application for additional grant monies on the 2022 Deep Open Space Grant Program. Thank you again, Commissioner Dykes. These are 2 copies of her letter. At this time, I would like to express my disappointment with the East Lyme Land Board of Selectmen for their failure to bring our land trust requests that the town financially participate in these properties. Acquisition, as they had access to federal grants that we were now able to obtain. As a result, our land trust was required to borrow a significant sum of money to protect the property from imminent conversion to developments. In our opinion, the residents of East Lyme are the primary beneficiary of this acquisition, based upon the reduce of cost of community services, watershed protection, and public recreation, and therefore they should be participating in the cost of this acquisition. Under these circumstances, I will submit that it is more than unfair to place the burden of the entire cost of this acquisition on the back of the East Lyme Land Trust. In preparing for this evening's agenda, I was disappointed to listen to the Board of Selectmen's representative to this commission report at the Wetland Agency's June 9th, 2022 meeting, that the Board of Selectmen continued to negotiate the purchase of the Hathaway property, which is simply untrue, as the Board of Selectmen or the First Selectman have never negotiated the purchase of this property and could not have, as the property was never offered for sale to the town by the former owner of the property. Secondly, the Selectmen's representative incorrectly reported that the configuration of the property, and I quote, keep changing, end of quote, a claim that is also untrue. In fact, we provided Mr. Siri and the town's legal counsel with a copy of the completed boundary survey of the property in early May of this year. With this agency, the property had never been surveyed because it had never been sold prior use. In fact, this property has been owned by the same family for nearly 300 years. We have documents going back to the King of England granting the property to them. As was fully disclosed by Mr. Siri, as soon as it was brought to our attention by our surveyors during the survey process, it was discovered that the size of the property that was conveyed to Hathaway Farm in 2021 identified as 152 acres. Survey has shown that it was accurate survey showed it was actually 138 acres in size. During the survey process, which took 15 months, we provided Mr. Siri and with several progress prints clearly marked drafts as the surveyors worked. They worked their way around the extensive 5 miles long border of this property. To be clear, what changed was the accurate legal description of a previously unsurveyed large parcel of property. There should not be any confusion with regard to the property survey, as it is simple, not that complicated. This was a work in progress that took 15 months to complete. As the boundaries evolve, a result of accurate surveying, So did the acreage and the layout of the property. Mr. Siri and the town's special legal counsel were at all times aware of this fact, and to suggest otherwise was incorrect. Thank you. With all this said, Mr. Carson has a few words he'd like to add to this. Art?
This is going to be an ad-libbed few words. I'll describe this property. This is the idea of securing this was to increase and protect the watershed that supplies water to well 5. Okay, that's one of our most prolific wells in town. It also has the least sodium of any other well, and that's important for the long run. So what we will have accomplished once we close on this property, we will have protected the vast majority of the watershed that feeds well 5. Okay, and that's really quite a trick in a town that's like halfway developed. Okay, we'll be able to. We have. And here's the other thing that's valuable about this property. It's north of I-95. Well, that means any accidents on tanker trucks will not pollute this well. That's something you have to really be careful about. You recall about 20 years ago, we had that terrible accident near exit 74, I guess it was, and 8,000 gallons spilled into the Niantic River. Well, if that ever happened and spilled, it was a quarter of a mile away, the Bride Lake wells would have gone out. So anyway, there's a lot of good reasons for protecting this area. The property itself has got about almost 3,000 feet of waterfront. It'll be great. One of the attributes also, this will allow public access to water for fishing and recreation. Never thought much about that until I realized there are no open lots left. Rocky Neck is small. Everything, to have public access is a very important attribute, and that's what this has. I think that kind of sums up the value of this property. Can you take questions? I'll take them if you got them.
Can I just have an address?
Pardon me?
Your address?
My address?
Right,
30 Dean Road.
thank you.
In closing, the good thing about this also, this part adds to the forest block. This connects to the Yale property of roughly 1,800 acres, which connects to Stone's Ranch, 2,300 acres. And then Yale connects to the state forest, which is about 2,400 acres. So you have over a 6,000 acre forest block. So from a plain naturalist point of view, that's heaven I just described, okay? So we've got, and just summarize it, we got as about a safe a watershed as you can have, and safe because we know the salt level's half of all other wells. It's part of a 6,000 acre forest block, 3,000 or 2,500 feet of shoreline, and you can connect trails on this thing up through Darrell Pond to the Goodwin Trail, and you can walk out to Route 82. So that's a pretty good deal. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask real quick? I believe you came to us last year or so about this property, right? And then we were going to write a letter of recommendation that the town purchase it or contribute towards purchasing it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We made presentations to several committees, and each committee agreed with our position, and those letters were forwarded to the Board of Selectmen.
Great, okay. And so now we're just negotiating costs? Or you're...
We're not negotiating, that's a problem.
Got it, okay. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Do we have anybody else here that would like to speak during the public delegation? Okay. All right, so then I'm going to start the public hearing. The hearing tonight is for the application of Jack Belowich, Atlantis Management Group, applicant owner for the redevelopment of 190, 196, and 202 Flanders Road to include a new 4,200 square foot convenience store and related appurtenances. East Lyme Assessors Map 26.3, lots 14, 15, and 16.
Good evening, everyone. I believe I was here last month. It's Attorney Rob Avina from Sussman Shapiro. I'm here on behalf of Atlantis Management Group and the applicant Jack Belowich. Tonight, we realize you're opening the public hearing that you scheduled last month, and we are here tonight just to do some housekeeping, actually, and talking to Gary Geschel. We're still awaiting some back and forth between our engineer and the town engineer on the plans that we reviewed with you last month. There may be some changes, and we don't want to do the public hearing in the middle of changes. Secondly, I'm in conversation with the zoning officer. We don't think it's going to change your concern, which is where the building is located and how much impervious surface we have, but I am just trying to review the use in the convenience store in the zone, and also just go through the aquifer regs, which are pretty complicated. But we think we can meet those. But I owe him an opinion on that. So with that, we are requesting of the commission tonight that we continue this public hearing until next month. And for the record, I would produce this for our first exhibit, which is the return of the certificates of mailing, which we did get out. So those are all back. And we realize that if anyone's here tonight on this application, we don't have a problem if they would like to speak tonight, and we can also respond to those comments next month.
Okay, thank you. So that being said, we'll have further information, a presentation next month. But if there is someone here from the public who would like to speak, Dave, why don't you come on up? Just name and address, please.
My name is David Schmidt. I live at number 6 Clark's Lane in Niantic. I'm a resident of the Clark Hollow condominiums, which are directly across from the Citgo station at 202 Flanders Road. We are a 25-unit, 55-plus detached home condominium association. Our road, Clark's Lane, is directly across from the exit out of the current Citgo station. This evening I'm speaking as a board member and on behalf of the Clark's Hollow Association. Our association catch basins and drainage system drain into 2 retention ponds. The outflow from these retention ponds is piped off-site into the state-owned storm drainage system on Flanders Road. Part of this drainage system is piped under Flanders Road and under the property where this proposed development will take place if approved. We would like assurance that caution is used and that there is no disruption of the drainage from our ponds. Further, if the construction requires any relocation of the drainage piping to accommodate the new building, that such relocation is completed in accordance with the requirements of the East Lyme Wetlands Commission, and that the developer shall bear full responsibility for implementation. Within the last 2 months, we had a major maintenance and cleaning completed on the upper retention pond and similar repairs on the lower pond 2 years ago. We've had cleaning, repairs, and maintenance done to our catch basins and system, combined cost of which was close to $50,000 in the last 3.5 or 4 years. We want to be assured that they continue to function as designed, and if this redevelopment is approved, that this be a condition of any approval. Our second concern is the alignment of the new entries and exits, and would hope that we can improve on the safety as we exit our property facing the traffic exiting the Citgo station. I understand this is more of an issue for the town planner and the zoning commission at a later date, but I wanted to get our concerns on the record. Thank you. And for you, here's a copy of that, and that's from one of our residents. I don't know what's in it. She just handed it to me tonight, but that's what I did for everybody. Thank you very much.
David, you have the condition that you're requesting stated in that letter that you're passing out.
The condition we would like included, I mean, I can show you at any time. If there was a map up here, I could show you where it is, but there's a catch basin directly across from the mailboxes
that are, there's a series of 4 mailboxes, and directly across Flanders Road is a catch basin with a, in the sidewalk is a round sewer cover. There is a junction box down there where the piping from the upper pond, the lower pond, and some of the other drains within our association that all drain into that pipe, which also includes a rather large pipe. I couldn't measure it. I'm guessing 20 to 24 inches. It runs under the road, under the parking lot, to recharge the aquifer and the wetlands on the other side of that. And that's very critical to maintain that drainage, or our system ceases to function the way it was intended.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, please.
Just for the record, we had 2 other items that were added. It'll be Exhibit J, and the last one will be Exhibit M. Sorry, N. The first is from Mrs. Heather Jo Purcell, Clark's Hollow, 4 Clark's Lane, Niantic, Connecticut. Dear Mr. Gischel, I will be unable to attend the special public hearing on October 4th, and I wish to add my voice to the proceedings. Living in Clark's Hollow over the past 16 years has been wonderful. The thoughts of Atlantis Management Group attempting to construct a large development is totally exceptional. I'm not sure if that's the right word. First nightmare, end quote, will be the amount of traffic on 161. It's always been a challenge just exiting our property now. Can you imagine what it would be like with this new development built there? If I have any vote about this unnecessary structure, I vote no. Thank you for your help in this matter. Sincerely, Heather Jo Purcell. The other is from Kathleen Romatowski, 5 Williams Way, Niantic, dated October 3rd, 2022, to the Town of East Lyme Department of Planning and Inland Wetlands Agency regarding the public hearing on October 4th. I am unable to attend the meeting in person, but do want to add my name to people who are connected about the application of Jack Belowich for redevelopment of 190, 196, and 202 Flanders Road. I moved to Clark's Hollow 3 years ago and was astonished at the amount of traffic on Flanders Road. It is taking your life in your own hands to make a left or right turn to get on Flanders Road. The traffic light at Stop and Shop and at Society Road are not timed to allow easy access to Flanders Road. I have personally had several near misses as cars tend to speed up if they see you want to get out. It takes a minimum of 5 to 8 minutes to get out. Adding another convenience store will only add to the already problematic traffic on Flanders Road. I would deny this application until a better solution can be found. Sincerely, Kathleen Romatowski.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak?
John Smith, I live at 2 Clark's Lane, and I just want to reiterate what David Schmidt said. There is a large pipe, and it was approved by the state of Connecticut and the town of East Lyme. And why we should take and minimize the land that is now designated as wetlands and put this building on it. So I'm not in favor of it, and I want you to remind you that we do have to protect our ecosystem. Thank you. And do you want a copy of this? There you go.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Jim Reeves. I want to add my comments on a couple of the letters that you have received. I live at 7 Williams Way in the Clark's Hollow Association, and as someone who has just recently, last year, survived a very serious automobile accident with significant loss of hearing, in both ears. I want to point out that the need of a traffic light, particularly if there's going to be more traffic on this road. I think it's ridiculous that we don't have a traffic light at the Clarks Hollow intersection. Is extremely dangerous. And why would someone have to die? Because this is the time I would think the developer should take responsibility here.
Yes, and I appreciate the comments. I do just want to make note, I'm not sure if there's a planning meeting set for this yet?
There's been no application formally submitted to the zoning commission
Okay.
as of yet. Typically, the application will come in first to inland wetlands, as the zoning commission would not render a decision until the wetlands agency has filed a report with them, so that works that way.
Yeah, right. Okay, so please, the comments that are associated with traffic and those such concerns, make sure that you're heard in the planning meeting. Our decisions are strictly wetlands-based, but obviously there's concerns with traffic and other issues that will definitely be taken care of and heard of in planning. So I just want to make sure you keep alert to when that date is going to be, when that meeting will be held. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, so this public hearing is going to stay open and remain open for at least until the next meeting, which I believe is November 1st-ish as of now. I think I saw that, the first Tuesday in November. November 1st, okay. All right, so thank you everybody for your comments. We're going to move on to the acceptance of minutes from the September 6th meeting.
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion to continue the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. So I just noticed in the meeting minutes, under new business, there was just a word that kept throwing me because it was just a typo. That under new business, not the bolded sentence group, the first paragraph, third sentence, it says the own recently acquired the empty lot. I think, yeah, it should be they recently acquired the empty lot. I just stumbled over that a couple times reading it.
I just got it on my phone.
Yeah, I know.
Where is it now?
So under new business, A, where it's the first paragraph that's not bolded, it's the third sentence. It says the owned recently acquired, just they recently acquired. Just because I knew what it was meaning, but, so that was the only thing I noticed. If anybody else would.
The only other thing I noticed is my last name only has one M, S-I-M-S.
Okay.
With a
Two comments. There's an O in my name, Leonard. And second, I'll let you catch up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Second, in the last sentence of section A, J. Dewey explains some of the construction notes. That would be on the second page of the minutes themselves, and the end of section A.
Okay.
Recommend that be expanded to J. Dewey promised, or I don't know if promise is the right word, will research whether there are pre-construction test requirements on the existing gas tanks and what their expected service life is.
All right, so with those changes, do I hear a motion to accept the meeting? If someone could state, they make a motion with the changes
As amended.
as amended.
I make a motion to accept the minutes with the changes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
All right. So next we have the Ex-Officio Report. Anne?
Good evening, Ian Chichello. I just wanted to, reply to Mr. Lewis and just say that I would bring his comments back to the Board of Selectmen. We have a meeting tomorrow night. Secondly, we have a East Lyme Charter Revision Committee that we're trying to put together. If anybody's interested in being on that at the meeting tomorrow, we want people to give a 2-minute presentation and then submit a letter of intent and our resume to the first selectman.
And I'm sorry, what is this for?
This is for the East Lyme Charter Revision Committee.
Okay.
They're looking to get between about 11 people on it.
What do they do?
So what happens is the charter is like this thick. So what they do is they're taking out certain issues, and then the revision committee would actually review those issues. There's town meetings on it, and eventually, I guess, next November, it would be put on in the election, the questions, whatever the questions that decide will go forward. So one of the issues I think that the Board of Selectmen is proposing, they put forward, is to extend the Board of Selectmen's term to 4 years. So that's one issue, and I think there's about 10 different issues at this point.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested in that, then they could come to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Okay? Is there any questions?
Can I just clarify,
Sure.
as far as the Hathaway property has been purchased by the land trust, correct? So that's basically
If that's what Mr. Lewis said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would the town perhaps come back and help the land trust with the mortgage or whatever it is that they...
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'll have to report back to what Mr. Lewis said to the first selectman and the Board of Selectmen, and they'll see what the next steps are.
I mean, it seems like a great idea and a benefit to the town.
Definitely.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Unrelated to anything we've discussed thus far. I've been hearing about the water meter changes, and there's been a lot of issues with people having pinhole leaks in the main sewer lines because they're thinking that when whoever's replacing the water main, they shut off the valve and then they turn it on too fast, and it's creating these pinhole leaks.
So pinhole leaks in the main sewer?
In the main water lines. And someone in our neighborhood recently had water just pouring into their basement, and they shut off water to the house. This was right after having their meter changed.
Yeah.
Shut off water to the house, and it was still pouring in, so they recognized that it was coming from somewhere between the street and their house.
Mm-hmm.
And what the plumber had said was that he's seen more of this happening in the last year since these meters been replaced than the last 25. And I don't know if...
I told them to go to the street because they're going to people's houses and the valves are breaking.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I said the water issue is different things are happening when people suddenly turn it on and turn it off. It's affecting the lines when the technicians are doing this work.
So they turn off everything to put in the meter, is what you're saying?
They go to the main in the house instead of the main on the road. So that's also an issue because if they're getting into people's their own devices and their mine got broken.
Oh, yours?
Yeah.
Well, I've been hearing more and more of it happening and costing homeowners thousands of dollars to fix. So I just wasn't sure if the town was aware of this issue. And
so you're saying they turn off the main at the house instead of on the street?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't fully understand exactly what's happening.
So
someone explained to me that something's being turned on too fast. It is supposed to be a slow.
So once you turn it off, then you're turning it on too fast, and the pressure is causing some kind of issue. Is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a water and sewer issue. So I can bring it up to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow and try to see, I don't know if it's Joe Bergaw, I'm not quite sure, but I'll do something tomorrow. I'll
Thanks, yeah, I
contact
don't really
people.
know who to contact, I just
Yeah.
know some people have been talking to me, and like, that's out of my realm.
Yeah,
but
no, I will
seems like
contact.
it could potentially
Yeah.
be an issue, so,
Yeah, I'll contact some people tomorrow.
okay.
Joe Bergaw, it is Joe Bergaw, that's what I wrote that down, but I wasn't sure. Okay. Or Bill's share, okay. Yeah, I'll get in touch with them tomorrow.
Okay,
Anything else?
any other questions?
No? Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so we have the no new business next. After that, pending applications. Application of Jack Belowich, Atlantis Management Group applicant owner for the redevelopment of 190, 196 and 202 Flanders Road to include a 4,200 square foot convenience store and related appurtenances. You put that word there, so I have to stumble over every single time. East Lyme Assessors Map 26.3, lots 14, 15, and 16. Nothing new to discuss here. The public hearing's being extended. So
Can I say something about it? Like, I was just looking when.
Is there a typo or is there
No.
nothing substantive?
No, it was just about the plans. Like, I think I wasn't sure if that pipe that everybody was talking about. I think it's no. Never mind.
can we just make sure too the letter that was uploaded by Alex, the town engineer, is in full, because it only has through paragraph 5 online.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if there's a second page. I think there is. So I'm not sure which appendix it is, but if you could just check that it's. Okay, this was the only thing there. So if you could just double check that it's fully uploaded.
So there may be more to that exhibit.
Yes. Yes. All right. Old business. We have Diane McAndrews, condition of Little Indian Pond, Crescent Beach, Niantic.
Here, I don't see Diane in the crowd. I went to the pond today with Sam Geary. He's the intern and replaced Allie Christensen. Although Allie is working remotely still for us, so I'm making that money stretch. That said, I was out there with Sam today. We met with a couple of the neighbors. Unfortunately, Diane was not able to make that meeting, but we really heard their concerns. I think moving forward, we're going to take a look and see if there may be programs out there, grant programs that for rehabilitation or mitigation that might qualify. I think maybe we can apply for that. If that's the case, we can start making provisions to do that and working with the neighborhood. They would have to obtain rights to do it. I think the association would have to get the property owners all on board. It already sounds like they are. So there's a lot of potential, I think, for some improvement there. I'm also going to request that Alice go take a look at the pipe the town's installed, make sure that that's functioning properly and as proposed, at least when it went in. There could be some maintenance work done on the inlet side of that structure where there's some phragmites starting to grow, encroach upon it. The town does have a permit to do work within 25 feet of any inlet and outlet structure, but I think when I look at it, that's not really going to be a whole lot of help as to what's going to happen. So also going to reach out to the DEP to see if they can provide some expert guidance on management. I think they have some tutorials that are available online. I did find some resources, some periodicals in my office, so we're combing through that and hopefully we can guide the community forward. That's kind of where that stands.
I did find it interesting they were discussing that the pond level they thought was really low, and I'm wondering if the town would consider if the level's higher until a potential storm were to come, and then they could potentially drop the levels in preparation of that. Is that something that?
I don't know that you have the grades there to create a dam effect in a weird situation where you could
Well, so
control it.
I thought they said that inside the T there was a way to control.
There may have been a flat to keep material from moving up, but the report that I got from the neighbors was that water does flush all the way back up in the roof.
Oh.
So it's making its way.
Oh, okay.
There's no backflow preventer. I don't believe there is a backflow preventer. I think we contemplated that, but they may have installed some sort of flat. But I
So there's no, this is Greg. We have the same problem over at the pond over at the end of Oak Grove Beach and between Oak Grove Beach and Attawan. And I know the people in this situation have met with the person who's the key person for that work. And my wife sits on the board at Oak Grove Beach, so I know that we've spent many thousands of dollars on, from where I sit, snake oil fixes for the algae, for the smell, for the Phragmites, and they all seem to be things that once we had a couple of big rainstorms, look pretty good now, you know? So it makes me think, at least in Oak Grove Beach, I'm personally going to ask for a moratorium. I'm going to tell them I don't want to spend any more money or do anything else for a period of 3 years and see what happens to the pond. I mean, it's like making a cake and you put 16 ingredients in it and you say, oh wow, this tastes really good. Which ingredient was responsible? The answer is we don't know, because we tried so many things at the same time, and then they had this huge rainstorm and everything looked better. So, you know, it's a complex situation. I know they've met with Rich, I think his name was Rich, Chris Yeagle, and they he had some suggestions for them, but I got dropped off the email chain after that. But it's certainly something. It's a dark hole, and you can start pouring money in there left and right, and nothing happens. And then you have a big rainstorm, and everything looks great. So I mean, I looked at the pond in question on the way over. It's got the same kind of dead algae floating that's flowing towards the outlet. You know, it's all been pushed over that way. The rest of the pond looks clear. Their Phragmites looks pretty healthy, which is never a good sign. You know, other people in our housing development would point out that as long as we keep fertilizing our lawns and having it run off into the pond, we're going to get really healthy looking Phragmites, and there's not much we can do about it. So it's a multifaceted problem. It's tough. And as I said before, given that this pond has free exchange with the ocean, do we really have say in this?
We've been regulating it as an inland wetland and water course. So it is by definition, in my opinion, a water course. There's the only tidal connection that I know that it has is through that pipe in storm surge. Now, with the consideration of climate change and sea level rise, at some point in the future, we may have more problems with saltwater intrusion into the pond. I suspect that would be the first thing we see.
Yeah. I would say that particular pond, once a year, there's washover of sand and rocks and stuff right through into the pond.
It has a
If the natural state of the pond prior to development was free exchange with the ocean, which is my assumption.
I don't know.
historically, I don't know. The photos that I've seen have all showed it kind of a separate sandbar, essentially.
It was just a sandbar prior?
The homes on the water side were built back in the 20s. So kind of the configuration that's remained since then. Pictures that I've seen showed back then it was lawn all the way around the pond.
See,
it
the one
almost
over,
looks man-made to me. I don't know.
yeah, the one over between Attawan and Oak Grove Beach was actually open to the ocean until the hurricane of '38, I think, and then that closed it up. And then somebody came in, I don't know if it was us or Deep, and they put a weir underneath it with a pipe.
Yeah, that work I think was paid through grant work, and Deep came in and they maintained those. But it's filled in twice.
Yeah.
And I think they filled in again, and it's just a matter of maintenance cost for it to go out there.
Yeah, they say they're going to leave it open this winter, so we'll see what happens.
So I noticed that the lawns of one of the homes surrounding that pond is right to the water. So there really should be a buffer there. I think we, you know.
Well, I guess you get there's two homes on both kind of.
Right, the individual that was here years ago, a gray house.
Yes, the gray house that was the two-family that was knocked down.
Right, and if his lawn goes directly to the water, there's nothing that stops, you know, like the fertilizers or
He's got some vegetation, he's got a strip of lawn. If you're standing at the outlet pipe, you can see there's a strip of lawn, and he's got the retaining wall. The retaining wall actually looks like it's being undermined by some Phragmite growth. And ideally, that water, whatever he's putting on that lawn, it's just infiltrating down. It's not helping the situation. The only good news is that it's at the outlet, and so it flushes. I hate to say the solution to pollution is dilution, but it doesn't bode well for the sound either, right? So I think long term.
Yeah, that pond, but that pond is not fed by a stream or a spring or of any sort.
The neighbor said it was fed by a spring and it would remain. There's some fresh water to it. I don't know. I don't know geologically. Doing some more investigation.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
And I think the larger pond, years ago, the DEP did go in and remove a lot of the Phragmites. That was a long time ago, probably maybe 20, 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they, since I've been here, I know they've applied herbicides several times.
And we've cut it down. Yeah, we cut it down and applied herbicide.
I did let the neighbors know that if they wanted to eradicate the Phragmites, well, I would support them. It's a long, arduous process. I said, sure. I said, Mr. Barbero, and proposed the home on the corner lot there to replace the two-family. Part of his proposal required a turbidity curtain, and as part of the removal of those Phragmites, which never went in, and I said that was just due to cost. $30,000 curtain to control what? He'd rather just take the fine. It was cheaper. So, when you look at it from that perspective, it's a bigger issue.
Yeah, so that speaks to what I was saying earlier. We put herbicide down to kill the Phragmites and we cut them down. And then we get this algae bloom this summer that basically covered the entire pond. And it's on the smaller pond now, about half of it. And so we hired somebody to come and basically harvest that algae. And his comment was, well, you put a herbicide down, it killed all the algae. That's why you have algae floating in your pond. So it's all so interconnected, and one thing leads to another. You just don't know what's going to work and what isn't. Yeah.
Well,
And then you want to add microbes to eat the stuff on the bottom. I'm like, are you nuts?
You can have it raked, and they literally pull out the Phragmites. They did it at our beach. It's very expensive. It was like $100,000. But it's definitely eliminated the majority of the Phragmites.
And we talked about that, and I said, short of that, and he kind of said that I don't think the neighborhood wants to spend that kind of money, so that's where you have to look for grant. Maybe if you pursue UConn or one of the universities, if someone wants to do a habitat restoration project or something,
If the purpose of the Inland Wetland Agency is to review individual cases and see what is compliant, what is not compliant, and rule accordingly. We are not a technical evaluation body. And this is a very complex, interconnected, basically environmental engineering challenge. Would a splinter group or a working group, a focus group on this specific issue with people who are familiar with this kind of thing and do an analysis of what the best course of action is be appropriate?
could be helpful. That's where I'm suggesting we employ DEEP and their professionals over there, and have some specialists who specialize in this. We had a project on the corner of Burley Road. It was in the floodplain, and we brought in the NRCS. The guy came out from Thomaston, so that was. There's resources out there that we can tap first, but if not, I don't know. This group wanted to form a subcommittee to look at pond management and come up with recommendations to the homeowners or something like that.
I think it would only come to us in the event that they need a permit. Right? Otherwise, they can care less what we have to say.
Sort of looking for guidance through the planning
Yeah,
department.
I know. And I think the point is well taken. We're not eco, I was going to say terrorists, but we're not eco experts either.
I was about to say I want to be, but then you went ahead.
But certainly, I'm sure the neighborhood, the group would embrace any help that they could get. So, at least for my office, focus, my job would be to help facilitate some of these conversations and this networking, so that they get the right information to make application, guide them through that process.
I volunteer to come to the subcommittee, splinter group, working group,
Why?
party, to as a representative of the IWA. Is that appropriate? If not, is anybody going to stop me? Sorry, that's the wrong question. The microphone's on.
I would say you can participate in watching it in the ongoings and where your expertise.
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. And your background, just to learn that, I would say whatever they do, it's going to end up before you as an application. That's where you want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't recommend something. Yeah.
Some bias
So-
there, so I would just say any application you can get yourself on.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
So for the time being, can we just leave this on under old business so you can keep us up to date with what's going on? Perfect. All right. Moving on, we're going to chairman's report. I have nothing to report this month. Inland Wetlands Agent Report, administrative and commission issued permits.
But for agent approval, August, September 29-31 Society Road, construction of a 30 by 50 open pavilion and pavement patio. That's the town of East Lyme, adjacent to that's behind the middle school softball. Lily Fields.
Oh, for the new building.
Correct.
Got it.
269 West Main, replacing the 12 by 16 deck, and 22 Crest, construction of a 12 by 17 foot second story deck, approximately 7 feet 4 inches high. Extra information there, but 12 by 17 deck. That's all I have for,
That's it, huh?
for administrative firms that have issued. I've got 3 more on my desk that have to be issued. One's up on Town Road for a single family house. The other one's a pool.
Where did the pavilion? Where?
East Lyme Little League is building
middle
a.
school. So it's right adjacent to the existing snack shack.
They're doing a covered pavilion with picnic tables.
Oh. Are they? They're not modifying the building or anything?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, it'll be pretty neat. There's gonna be like a separation and then the pavilion. Anything ever about the self-storage on Colton Road? Did you get a permit for that or an application for that or no?
Yeah.
The Colton Road.
At the end of Colton?
Yeah.
Yeah, the commission approved that.
No.
No, we asked to see it.
Oh, that no, that has not.
Nothing's come to you
nothing's
yet?
come to-
Okay.
There's the existing self-storage, which we approved an application for. That's what I thought you were talking about. Now, the other side, I don't know if that will actually come to fruition.
Okay. I was just curious. Okay.
I don't know that the land has been sold.
Oh.
So that's, I think it's exploratory.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Can I?
There are several lots out there, I will say, on the other side of the existing self-storage, that entire lot, which is almost 2 acres, it's nearly entirely wet. So at some level, they're going to come forward and develop that. I just don't know how 2 acres engineering fees and costly.
Okay.
Yes, I think it has a lot of interest.
Hmm.
My phone knows quite a bit about it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but at exit 75, where the new gas station is going, is the humongous building that just went up. Is that like just a mini mart, or is that actually? I just was curious. I don't remember, because it didn't come through us, and then. So I didn't know what, I was surprised that there was such a humongous building once it went up. Do you know, like, is this not appropriate to ask?
Yeah, I can report on it and tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's, I guess, call it a mini mart, convenience store. It's a convenience store. I also believe there's going to be a deli in there as well. They were trying to fit a drive-through. I have to go back and look at the site plan and see if they fit that in. But it's also going to accommodate gas dispensers for tractor trailers, 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to rotate around the building to get there.
Okay.
The building, the entire site, virtually all the work on it is outside the 300-foot upland review area, with the exception of approximately 13,000 square feet of the detention basin in the lower corner. Well within the regulated area.
Oh, okay.
Approximately 270 feet from the line.
Okay. I don't know why I thought it was closer, but okay.
Can we confirm on the map where that exact location is? And I say by the map, I mean Google Maps.
You go to GIS. My concern.
Even better.
Yeah. The obvious concern is that the on-ramp there going north is very short, and so hopefully this highway construction program will take care of that.
Yeah, they're not modifying the entrance to the highway or anything, right? Over there? At 75. That's just.
There'll be some restriping, but they're not realigning a whole lot of everything over there. That may come in the future with DOT.
20 years after Septic.
So here's the site.
It's a 20 years for me.
35.
You can see the existing driveway to the cemetery.
It's a great location.
Crosses their property. Their silt fence currently runs parallel with that all the way around the site, and parallel with their front property line. The detention pond that was within proximity to the brook was in this lower.
Isn't there an active project to redo some of the off and on ramps that are further south?
Yeah.
Starlight Inn went down.
Yeah.
So that relative to there, that's going to be back over.
That's back that way.
I thought I understood the entire 3-year project starts there and goes, extends all the way up to where 385 goes off.
Correct. It does. It starts here and it will end.
Oh wow.
So they're going to modify 95, like where the entrance to 395 is, off of 95?
Yeah, the 74 the southbound off ramp will get relocated, basically around pools, etc.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side.
Right, and like through the old driving range, and
Correct.
right next, it'll come out near True Value.
Oh.
The on ramp for northbound will also change, and it's going to run right through the existing commuter lot. You'll have more of a run.
Okay.
And then the on ramp as well for southbound is going to be altered as well. Will provide you additional distance to accelerate so that you don't get rear-ended. That's a problem there. I think those are the major changes that's happening there.
Lovely.
I think they're going to try to close up some of the driveway cuts with Starbucks, all of that. You're going to get a large commuter lot to the south of 95, just where like the Starlight Motel is.
Yeah. That's a good commute.
So approximately where the gas station was, and in that area, the commuter lot is located. If anybody wants to see the plans, they are at the bottom of the stairs. Got to go through the double door. They'll be immediately to your immediate right. There's a large aerial photo plan. Small. All right, so back to the.
All right, so next would be enforcement, Grassy Hill Road test pits. East Lyme Land Trust will provide clarification.
So I met with the land trust. They're here this evening if they want to speak on it. More than happy to let them explain explain the current situation.
For the record, Ronald Lewis, 13 Enid Lane, East Lyme, on behalf of the East Lyme Land Trust. With regards to this enforcement matter, I am going to allow Mr. Jeff Torrance to provide our land trust response to statements made by Mrs. Rush and Mr. Goshill and others at the June and September 2022 meetings of this agency. That concern over land trust acquisition of the 300-acre Duval property in the north end of town, as well as claims regarding so-called wetlands violations. By way of background, Mr. Torrance is a valuable volunteer to the East Lyme Land Trust and has been very, very instrumental in our land trust acquisition, financing, and protection of nearly 475 acres of land over the past 18 months. And that's the acquisition of 475 acres. While Mr. Torrance's knowledge and expertise, these acquisitions likely would not have been possible as they involve the navigation of highly technical matters and legal issues necessary to complete the deep open space land acquisition grant process requirements. With that, I will turn over to East Lyme Trust response to Mr. Torrance.
Good evening. Jeff Torrance, 197 Upper Patagonia Road. I'm a volunteer to the East Lyme Land Trust. I do things that they ask me to do from time to time. The Land Trust involvement in this matter involves really two issues that have been raised before this commission, both at the June and the September meetings. Some of them are claimed violations of a wetlands permit that the Land Trust supervised the clearing, and I'll explain why in a moment. And the second is a tangent of land use issues, including subdivision claims and such, which are a host of other issues that were brought before you, which I'm prepared to address on the Land Trust's behalf. So Art and Ron and I reviewed the tapes of the meeting on this thing. I would, a note for the record, full disclosure, the project engineer on this application for the Grassy Hill clearing is my daughter. So, and the Land Trust involvement had to do with supervising the clearing operation as a favor to the out-of-state owners, one that lives in North Carolina, one that lives in New Hampshire, in exchange for them paying for a bunch of forestry mulching. We're doing a bunch of work on the Duval property, clearing existing woods roads, creating trails so that we can open that property, that 300-acre property, up to public access. So when we watched the tape of the June and September meetings, it seemed to us that the commission, nobody had ever seen either the permit application or the permit that was issued for this matter. And so we made copies for everybody, which I have. So in exchange for babysitting a couple of grown men for 3/4 of a day, clearing this property, the land trust received a significant dollar amount of money to create the trail system through the Duval property, and that was the purpose, I think, as I said earlier. The top page of this is the permit that was issued, which describes 2 locations. Ms. Rush told you at the June meeting that she had come in and reviewed the application. The application was filed in April. It was granted in May, and the clearing activities occurred on May 26th. It took them the better part of a day to address both locations. So if you go to the application, which is on the next page after the permit itself, the first page is the site location, the applicant, the owner. In this particular case, there were 2 owners as tenants in common, which is why there's 2 first pages. It describes the area of wetland. Paragraph 4 of the application describes the area of wetland to be disturbed, which is not applicable. Area of watercourse to be disturbed, which is not applicable. Upland review area to be disturbed, 10,890 square feet, or 0.25 of an acre in location 1, with a note that said no activity proposed within 100 feet of the wetland, and 41,250 square feet, or 1 acre in location 2. They asked for soils information, wetland vegetation, talks about no wetland or watercourse disturbance. There's a list of abutters attached. There's a DEP reporting form attached. Identified the erosion and control agent, the filing fee, and then you go on to the next page, which is important because it's a description of the proposed activities, and this is where things started to go off the rails in this discussion that occurred, and the description of the proposed activities describe different things for location 1 and location 2. Location 1 says site testing, test holes, and clearing to determine septic feasibility for a potential subdivision of this 5.5 acre property. The areas of activity is in excess of 100 feet from any inland wetlands based upon the applicant's review of historical ALTA survey of a historical ALTA survey of the property, which was attached to the application, is attached to what you have in front of you as Exhibit A. Also attached are is the soil map of the property, an aerial photo from 2019 obtained for the property from the town GIS system, in which will identify the clearing limits. So, this is the applicant's words. So, if you go to a couple of maps of everything that was described, there's a map in there that shows the location of that identifies location 1 and location 2. Exhibit G, I believe. No, that's not right. I'm trying to find it. Well, there's in any event, there's an aerial map on which the location of the survey of the clearing activities were going to occur. It shows 35 feet of frontage along Grassy Hill Road and then extending back any number of feet. That's Gary's got it there. What is that?
Towards the front, it's after the Wetlands 17 color picture that shows the town GIS that shows location 1 and 2.
Exhibit C. Thank you. So, so that is the proposed area of disturbance. Before the clearing contractor came out, we went out and identified the areas and either staked or utilized pink ribbons to identify the clearing limits, so the clearing contractor didn't go outside of certain areas. Similarly, on the location 2, the area is described in exhibits G and H, and in this particular case, and this is important, is that the description of the proposed activities states brush clearing and dead tree removal in the area identified as the feasible residence and septic system in the lot line revision plan, Exhibit A, or E, approved in September of 2021. No grubbing is proposed, and all clearing activities will be above ground. The proposed activity will be in excess of 50 feet from the off-property inland wetland, which is an intermittent watercourse. Now, Ms. Rush disputes that. And my daughter hired a soil scientist to come out, Joseph Thoreau, on June 28th, and he traversed what is in fact, based on his report, an intermittent watercourse that extended 575 feet where it was dead dry, June 28th of this year. So, as I said, the proposed area of activity will be in excess of 50 feet from the intermittent watercourse based on the applicant's review of the historical ALTA survey of the property. And an ALTA survey is the most extensive survey that you can prepare. It includes wetlands and just about anything else, stone walls. It's an interior survey. It's not just a boundary survey. So it identifies numerous things. And that's attached to this application as Exhibit A. So, if you refer back to the area disturbed, to be disturbed in this location 2, which is identified in the application as 41,250 square feet, or nearly an acre. And you look at the parameters of the area that was going to be cleared, as are identified in Exhibits G and H, That's the area that was cleared. I think Ms. Rush told you that we cleared within 56 feet of a wetland. The permit actually allowed us to clear within 50 feet of the wetland. So, you know, that was having reviewed the permit application, that was a material omission on Ms. Rush's part when she made her presentation to you. So if you look what was done, and in regards to the permitted activities and what was described in the permit application, there is no violation here. You know, this. So to continue in this regard, I think it's important to understand the method in which that we are using to clear, and it's not only on this property, but on the Duval property as well. Just gotta find my stuff here. So this clearing operation was all above ground. It used a forestry mulcher machine as opposed to the normal clearing activities where you get a variety of different heavy equipment. That's a picture of a similar machine. The only difference in the one that was used is it wasn't yellow. And so the way a forestry mulcher works is that it's all above ground. It doesn't uproot anything. It doesn't grub, pulling the roots out of the ground. It doesn't disturb the soil to a significant degree. You know, variations, they may, you know, hit a piece of dirt here and there, but it's not taking up the roots of anything that's being cut. And the second thing it does is it creates a mulch bed where all that material that's being ground up is deposited in place back on the ground to cover, and it acts as an erosion barrier. Now, that was another complaint that was brought forward by Ms. Rush, and so there was no silt fence on the plans because there was no silt fence needed. I think Gary mentioned at the last meeting that he had been out there, and he referred to it as slash. When we met last week with Mr. Lewich and myself and Gary, we explained, you know, how that machine works and how it deposits, you know, the chipped up material right back in the ground, right where it existed before. So, you know, it's a very environmentally friendly way of clearing land that doesn't cause soil disturbance and therefore provide, you know, the ability for erosion events to occur. So in that case, you know, we were, you know, also very careful in terms of how we went, you know, about this process. So I have a list of things that were said that I took when we were met with our folks.
Are we asking questions during the presentation or after?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
If you have questions.
Yeah.
Okay. How much clearing is required to do an adequate septic assessment? Do you have to clear the whole leach field, or just a strip, or how does that?
Well, in this particular case, we were only doing test holes in location 1. If you read the permit application and the description of the activities. So there was all these invasive type stuff. It was briars and vines and things like of that nature. That was the underbrush that was out there. So in the case of the location 1, where there were test holes that were going to be dug, that's why it's a narrow area, right? And it went back to an area which as Mr. Geisel pointed out, was a higher spot on the back, towards the back of the property, where there was the soils maps reflected an area of different types of soil. Right? It was as simple as that. And so that's how we came up with that clearing activity. So for that one. As it related to the second area, I believe the intent was to clear a previously approved feasible house location for marketing purposes. Right? You know, you wouldn't clear 41,250 square feet, right, to do test holes. You know, typically, right? So there's two different activities here for two different purposes. They're stated in the permit. It's stated in the description of the activities to be performed, and there's two different reasons.
Can I ask a clarifying question on location 2? I haven't seen these properties. Was the potential lot cleared, or where the feasible residence and septic would go be cleared?
Well, it was the general area of the entire house plan that had been
The house plan.
Well, there's a feasible site plan that was approved by the planning and a lot line revision, because subdivision wasn't required, and a septic approval for a feasible location in trying to remember, October of 2021. Right? The land trust got that done as part of its agreement with the former owner of the Duval property. So, hold on, I have that. It was actually approved in November of 2021. And the lot line revision map that approved that is, I believe, attached to this application package. Yeah.
Was the entire lot cleared at location 2, or just
No.
what was necessary to do septic?
No, in location 2, it was exactly, what was done was exactly what was permitted, an area that was 150 feet wide by 275 feet long. That was what the application requested, and that's what the permit granted. If you look at the top of activity permitted in location 2, it says brush clearing and dead tree removal in the identified area. No grubbing is proposed.
So it's just the permit to clear, just for clearing, like to, because
Yeah.
you were.
Forestry mulching.
Okay.
Alls it did was take down the underbrush, a bunch of invasive species, briars, vines, that type of thing, and some dead trees. And the way that machine works is it goes up the trunk of the tree, if it's a tree, and just literally goes down and mulches it as it's going. As that cylinder turns, it's just mulching the thing as it goes.
Obviously, the size, the diameter, everything.
Go up to 12 inches. What? Yeah.
And test pits weren't needed at location.
Well, they had been, location 2, they had been done the previous summer as a part of the lot line revision application that was prepared by the East Lyme Land Trust for the former owner of the property.
So can I ask, both of these properties, or these lots, have been surveyed, so the work that you did was on your property, correct?
It's not my property.
Well,
on the property.
The property, okay.
Yes.
And you got a approval from the town to do this work, correct?
The applicant got approval. All we did was act as the
you did the work.
babysitter for grown men for a day.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused. So why are you here tonight?
Because complaints have been brought forward to this commission about these activities in which violations have been claimed. The claimed violations are inaccurate.
Okay, so you're basically defending the work that was done?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm going to ask some learning questions and restate the situation as I understand it. Ms. Rush, there was significant clearing on the 2 properties that could introduce turbidity and sediment into local watercourses. That's the gist of what's going on. The permit that I have in front of me, I'm set location 2, brush clearing and dead tree removal in the area identified as feasible residence and septic system.
Go to exhibits G and H.
Yep. So.
And it identifies the limits of clearing.
Where I'm confused, H. So where the residence is going to be, that's that box. And then what you got to do a septic assessment, which is some other subset, not to exceed these bounds. But I do not interpret this language as allowing clear cutting of the entire thing.
Well,
even if it's with a really cool machine, which I want, by the way.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not the entire thing. And second of all, the map, which is Exhibit G, to the application, establishes the clearing limits. The permit, right, 150 feet by 275 feet, all marked in green. That was the area that was permitted to be cleared.
I think the essential misunderstanding is...
It's not a misunderstanding.
My misunderstanding. And here's where I need help. Is
okay.
When I read this, the language in the permit, I read clear what you have to where the potential house would be and what you need to do a septic assessment. I do not interpret permission to do anything else.
No,
The
that's
green
great.
barrier is the limits of where you can go to do septic stuff. Please, Mr. Gary, educate me where I'm wrong.
So we would take a literal interpretation of the proposal. So we have to go back to the narrative and look at what he's proposing to do on location 2, brush clearing, ditch removal in the area identified as the feasible residence and septic system in the lot line revision plan and Exhibit E, approved in September 2021. No grubbing is proposed. All activities will be above ground. Proposed area of activity will be in excess of 50 feet from the property in the wetland between the water course based upon the applicant's review of historical survey of the property. Exhibit A, also attached to support the activity. So literally, he's clearing the area. He says he's cleared within 50 feet of the water course. That area was depicted on the map as that area in green, highlight. And that's, I believe,
And I would also refer you to paragraph 4 of the permit application, where it describes the upland review area to be disturbed and identifies it in location 2 as 40,250 square feet or 1.0 acres.
So I do have a question to ask, like, about the mulcher and the nature of the clearing and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that while the mulcher is clearing the understory, it leaves behind it the mulch, or does it?
It leaves it. Oh yeah, it just chips it, and it just goes forward. It's sending it forward.
And how long does the mulch stay? Did the mulch stay on?
It just stays there. Right. Eventually decays and becomes topsoil. But in the meantime, it acts as an insulator and an erosion control method.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but like the permit never mentions, doesn't include any mention of like adding mulch to the property, because that's essentially what's happening is a net addition of mulch. Correct?
There was nothing in the permit application about adding mulch. There's nothing in the permit application about utilizing silk fence.
Okay, and the mulch could potentially at least have an effect on the on water runoff towards the wetlands, correct?
It stabilizes the.
yeah, it's acting as a stabilization of soil transport.
So if I may, again, aside from protecting your point of view in this, what do we need from us tonight?
No, we're responding to complaints that were made to this commission, that were brought to our attention by Mr. Geisel, and we're here to defend the work that was done in accordance with the permit, notwithstanding Ms. Rush's position that differ. Right?
How long has this process been going on?
The work's been done. At this point, laying quote fallow for the lot cells.
Yeah, I mean the
lot sold.
The definition of the upland review area, though, is certainly not 300 feet.
I'm not sure I follow. The upper review area.
Cited in here is 100 feet. So
Yeah,
it's
on a description of
it's clearly
proposed
from a ways
document.
back.
What the description describes is how close the activities were going to get to the wetland. In case of location 1, it was 100 feet. In the case of location 2, it was 50 feet.
But this came through after the right after we changed it to 300 feet, correct?
Correct.
But it was administratively approved.
Correct.
And just to
I
further,
think that the test was done and then somewhat after the fact.
No? So and let's go into that. That's another issue, because the previous summer, the East Lyme Land Trust had, and that'll kind of segue us into the claimed land use violations, subdivisions, that all those tangent of issues that came up at the last couple of meetings as well. I know Gary has been, we've explained it in detail to him, and so he has an understanding of how it occurred and why it occurred, and why everything that was done was legal under the Connecticut general statutes, notwithstanding some potential claims to the contrary that were said previously. But we did test hole permits, or test hole for this lot line revision plan in the summer of 2021, right?
Which also was a permit that was issued administratively.
Now, that particular permit was issued after the fact. Mr. Geisel contacted us. He said, and let me.
during the pause, just to wrap up my learning question.
Yep.
The permit as written is a common convention when doing this type of activity, where everything within the green box can be cleared to facilitate the activities described.
I would say that the area of the green box varies from developer to developer. Okay, so the area that they claim is limited disturbance,
Yep.
that could vary from application to application.
But when they color the lines,
That would be what I would hold them to, is their limited
Okay.
disturbance. So clearing the line, that would be a violation.
yep, and that is not what we suspect here.
So in this case, based on what the
Suspect.
land trust volunteers
Yes.
providing as far as information, based on my on-site site observations, it does not appear that they're going beyond the clearing, and that they are adhering to the
I understand.
Okay, so as it relates to the after the fact permit that was issued in the summer of 21 when test holes were done. Gary had received a complaint from Ms. Rush, by way of email. We, meaning the land trust, was able to get copies of those emails based on a Freedom of Information request. And she was complaining about test holes within a 60 to 70 foot area from a wetland on location 2. Those locations are depicted by a survey on map, the lot line revision map. They're 100 feet, 95 to 100 feet away from the wetland. In 25 years of developing in East Lyme from 1990 to 2015, I dug literally hundreds of test holes, and never once was required to get a inland wetland permit to do test holes. Never once. And I did hundreds of them. All of Darrow's Ridge, all of Nottingham Hills, and a host of other places. The sanitarian that was here at the time made you turn the land into Swiss cheese. with the number of test holes required on these properties. And in fact, Mr. Gaishel's administrative assistant responded to Ms. Rush by saying that I spoke to Gary. He said we do not normally require wetlands approvals permits for perk testing. August 5th, 2021, 3:06 p.m. Which is in fact how things were done for 30 years. Mr. Gaishel asked the Land Trust to prepare an application. My daughter, the engineer, who does a host of work for the East Lyme Land Trust and never charges them $1, did the application. It was submitted after the fact, after the test holes had been done, and the permit was granted administratively after the fact. So.
There you have the status.
There's the status of that element of the complaints.
There's more?
The second element of, oh yeah, the second element of the complaints had to do with zoning and land use and all kinds of things that Ms. Rush engaged the commission in rather lengthy discussions about which were in large part also inaccurate. This work and this property did not require a planning commission approval. It was not a subdivision in any way, shape, or form. It was created by a lot line revision. The lot line revision created a 5.53 acre lot in November of 2021. A Mylar was filed on the land records. That was the size of the lot. There was no CDD subdivision requirement. There was no 40-foot vegetative buffer requirement. What was required for this site plan that was approved as part of that lot line revision application is for it to conform with the RU80 zones, which require a 50-foot front yard setback to the building and a 30-foot side yard and rear yard setback to the building, period. So literally, someone could build a house in an RU80 zone, run the driveway right up the property line, bang a left or a right, as the case may be, into the garage, and as long as the end of that garage is 30 feet from the property line, it complies with the zoning requirements of the town of East Lyme. Which gets us into the subdivision portion of the complaint. And this is what we had a rather discussion with Mr. Gaishel about last week.
Killing trees.
So, Chapter 126, Section 8-18 of the Connecticut General Statutes describes the subdivision of land.
Sir, may I request a 2-minute recess? I gotta do it.
Yeah. It's not my decision.
That,
I'm all for it.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Everyone has to use the bathroom,
set a time.
etc. We have till 8:47.
Good, can I ask one question?
All right. Oh wait, Sue. We gotta wait for Sue. One more minute.
What? Yeah, well, we didn't have a PDF. That was our issue.
We're getting technologically advanced
This
here,
was
Lyme.
This was three old guys and highlighter pens.
All right, we appreciate the break. We can continue.
Okay, so we've addressed the zoning issues that were raised at these previous meetings that you engaged discussion about, and then there were subdivision claims, when a subdivision is required, how things were occurring on this property, and I think it's important to, from a background, to understand both the underlying statute and the area that was actually acquired by the East Lyme Land Trust, A, and B, the area that Deep funded, which is a totally different area, which is a large portion of what was acquired. So the East Lyme Land Trust paid $1.58 million for this property. It received grants and had to make up the difference. The DEP was aware that parcels were going to be sold off, conveyed to and retained by the current owner to meet the required match. So, as I started to say earlier, Chapter 128, Section 8-18 of the Connecticut General Statutes deals with requirements for subdivisions and defines it as the division of a tract or parcel of land into 3 or more parts or lots made subsequent to the subdivision regulations, which in the case of East Lyme, I believe, is 1954-ish. Stand corrected. So in this particular case, with the full knowledge of the DEEP, the areas in green is going to be subjected to a conservation easement held by them for public recreation. The areas in orange, we're going to 3 areas in orange were going to be retained for development purposes. In this 4th little area here is a title fiasco where the Federal National Mortgage Bank conveyed a piece of property to this landowner with the wrong legal description, which is a part of the property that the land trust acquired and has vested title in, that the homeowner built a shed on, and the DEP said, well, you can own it, but we want no part of a conservation easement on that fiasco. DEP scrutinizes these surveys to the nth degree, and to describe how far they go. Down here, this landowner had a shed on this property here that encroached 1 foot over the property line. And the DEP made 3 old guys, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Carlson, and myself, go out and move that shed with the property owner's permission before they would fund their grant. Wow. So they look at these things with a fine-tooth comb. So there was nothing unknown, nothing untoward, nothing that wasn't fully disclosed. Now, the town, similar to the Hathaway property, didn't participate in this acquisition, and there was no reason for Gary to know the particulars of the transaction until it was explained to him. A question that came up that is addressed in Section 8-18 is that when you look at the lot line revision plan, there was 3 lots out there. They were configured, reconfigured. That reconfiguration was approved. This parcel here was part of the green parcel in the lot line revision plan that was approved. But pursuant to Section 8-18, the subdivision regulations expressly exclude parcels of land that are acquired for conservation purposes. So the land trust was able to split this green area from this area because there was a conservation easement recorded on the land records before that property was conveyed, the orange property was conveyed out. And if you follow the chronology of events in Attorney Garrity's letter to Mr. Gaishel, you can follow the order in which this was done.
So it provides the whole chronological order from kind of start to finish, and this is the present configuration.
And permanent. At least as it relates to the green.
And the one little orange spot, we'll see what will happen with that. But the easement itself follows the green boundary.
So just so we're clear, I'm handling the little square parcel issue with and my instructions from the land trust are to work with the property owner. What we're trying to do is to get their title insurance company, which screwed up largely, to pay the land trust to solve this problem. The land trust is not going to take advantage of the landowner, hurt the landowner, or anything of that nature. But there's an opportunity from them, to obtain some payment for this parcel of land that the East Lyme Land Trust actually paid for and has title to. So, in terms of the discussions of subdivisions and splits, I think that the second package of information describes the chronology of events, how things occurred, why things occurred, and the statutory authority that the land trust had to do those things. And based on our meeting with Gary last week, I didn't hear any further objections.
No, having reviewed the material over time, reviewed the text assessor as well. It seems like it follows the statute as well as our regulations. I would just point out the large parcel on Grosky Hill. What ends up happening is there's a 2-acre lot for the west, and on the east side, that line has since been revised, and there's actually a portion of it going to the Walkers and a portion going to the Land Trust.
I have that back to here.
That was the latest lot line revision, the last one that came subsequent to the filing of the future. It doesn't affect the easement, this portion of land will be in the easement, unless they decide to include it. It's a small acreage.
So essentially what's going to happen here is the land trust is going to acquire, and we're not sure by what, it doesn't really matter, conservation easement or actual fee ownership of it, doesn't really matter. It accomplishes the same goal, right, as text theory. It's going to get a piece of property on the rear property line and the eastern property line of the property that further buffers this remaining area from the wetland that runs through here. In the back of the property, the wetland's probably 350 feet.
So, I have a question. So, going back to this map where we had location 1 and location 2, where there was like the clearing. I'm just trying to align the two.
What was it, Exhibit 3?
Or location. Okay, so location 2 was.
Location 2 is over is here.
Right. Okay.
Right? And location 1 is over
There.
here.
But now, so location 1, where the test pits were just done, but now, could there still potentially be development
The
there?
Walkers could subdivide a lot.
They were so inclined to go through the steps, they may have enough land area to do it.
They had 2+
Okay.
acres. Originally, they got 2 more after the, well, it really got 3.36, right? Yeah, they got 3.36, and if they give a conservation easement, they still have 3.36. So you add the 3.6 and the 2, it's 5.6. You need 4.
So they could possibly come back in and make an application.
But it would only be like, yeah, that's outside of this.
It wouldn't be this.
This is only just, there's one house being constructed.
What's that?
Okay. And because I guess what was throwing me was that in the wetlands permit, all the maps show that property as just, it's not subdivided yet. Like, so.
Well, right, because they're historical surveys. The oldest survey is dated in 2010, right?
It shows it as part of the larger piece.
Like it's like that you.
It's
like.
It's an M-shaped piece. It's not anymore. So right now, it's kind of like an N, right? Because this 2.2 acre or whatever it is, it's like 2.2, was sold off, and this parcel in its entirety, the remainder, was transferred to the Walkers. Walkers, the land trust is working with to obtain either fee interest or conservation easement on an additional acre, primarily to buffer the wetlands that's located at the south end or east end of that parcel.
So when did the map that's on the table, when did that
Get approved?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you? This one here?
Yeah.
That one just recently got approved, like
July or August?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm just trying to understand the whole process. Like when you file for the wetlands permit to do the clearing and to do the test pits, it was for a potential subdivision that hadn't happened yet, because then it happened afterwards. Is that typically the order of progression? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
But I don't know.
So-
You typically never require any wetland permits for exploratory test pits
okay,
across town.
or for clearing, even for.
Well, for clearing and grubbing, we would require permits. That work, the clearing and grubbing work, wasn't done until
May.
this permit was issued. So the previous permit, the 2021 soil, I have a permit for
Yep.
test pits in 2021, and then subsequent to that, they filed this application before they did the work. So here they followed.
Which is this one that you gave us, the wetlands. Okay.
So typically, as was done, because the land trust did these, three of us were out there, and I identified the area in which the test holes were dug for the excavator operator. It's a little mini excavator, and that was used for that purpose. And we typically try to find the area, least invasive area to locate the test pits. And if you look, go back to this map here, the lot line revision map, see that the test holes are rather forward in the front of the lot.
Okay.
Go to the last page. If you look where the test holes were done here on Grassy Hill Road, you have to be, this is the property boundary. The health code says you've got to be 25 feet from the property boundary. So you come back 25 feet, that's the test hole. So the least invasive location. You know, you're going to knock over brush and knock over a couple of trees in the process of doing that, absolutely. Dealing with Wendy Brown Arnold at Ledgelight is a lot different than dealing with Mr. Calkins. With Ms. Arnold, we identify a good location, we dig the hole, and we're out of there. With Mr. Calkins, we're digging to China as deep as you could go, and then repeating it 6 or 7 times a lot. But be that as it may, that's in the past. So that's how the process works in that regard. So, in summary here, you know, I think that Gary is up to date, has a better understanding and knowledge of how this all unfolded. He didn't have any reason to know the specifics, you know, before the issues were raised. You know, we responded to him professionally and cordially and in a detailed manner. You all have copies of that. We've subsequently met with him on the matter, and he has, you know, a good understanding of how this transaction was put together.
So I believe it's all above board in that regard. It follows the statute and the subdivision regulations. I don't currently see any wetland violations. I would note that the acreage that remains up in the corner of Holmes Road and Grassy Hill, as well as the other piece on Holmes Road, they too can be subdivided at some time in the future. Or they could just be built up on one, as a lot of record ones as well. Don't know what will happen.
Or, as I understand it, turned into a farm, potentially.
Farm, there we go, yeah. And you know, the lot on the corner of Holmes Road is, I think, still for sale. I don't know what the other one is.
This is a former property owner. Kristen is preparing a plan for him just to provide a piece of paper to the DEP about potential use. I think in the end, the land trust is, once we determine what can be done there, he will donate it. Yeah, so he just wants to enhance the value of his property before he does so. So, in any event, so that's what I have to offer in response to the review of the June and September meeting. If anybody has any further questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
No, I do say I appreciate you coming and clarifying. We have some people who never show up, and this is a very detailed presentation that explains exactly what we needed to hear. So,
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. All right.
Do you have other enforcement issues, Gary?
The other item that I was working on, 396 Boston Post Road, all the activity there stopped. I think I mentioned the claim that they didn't own land. I think that was because they saw a typo in the letter.
Oh, right.
Yeah. What I've done at this point, I've kept an eye on it. Not much work has occurred. I'm going to try to have Sam follow up with them, determine whether or not the area is stable enough to even be as is. It's kind of mucked up, so I don't know if they can grade it out, rake it out, maybe loam, see if it, maybe chip it, wood chip, or they could pick up more than this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stabilize it. Other than that, I don't think they're going to be doing any additional work. So if I can get them to at least make the area more stable, unless they have future plans. But I have not had contact with that gentleman since I initially started. So, but now with Sam on board, we'll follow up. Just get it focused primarily on all wetlands permitting. He's already begun the commissioner's training program, so he's almost finished with that. So I'm really excited to have him on board. And we've been for semester's over, so summer break. So I'll have some time to work in here, and then go back in the spring to finish up. That being said, it's budget season. We're moving into that. I have a meeting this Thursday with the first selectman and the new finance director, Kevin Gervais. If I pronounced it right. Gervais. So it's going to be, probably unlike last, I've always asked for additional help. This year it's a bit of a bigger ask. What you may not know is there's been some changes. I think most of you do know that Mr. Way had resigned, leaving the chief building official position open, which is still open, if anyone who's qualified. That said, we're looking to upgrade our software system. So we have a big ask in terms of that for permitting, and hopefully that will create efficiencies where being down chief building official doesn't hurt so much. Hopefully this package will encompass wetlands. The last one that we had, the system that we purchased, we were supposed to get a wetland module to handle wetland permits. That never happened. Never came to fruition. I'm not 100% certain why. I wasn't heading up that project anyway, as far as the perfect software goes. Here it is. I'm heading this one up. So we're looking to do that and go as well as we change our software is to digitize all of our existing historical data that are in the building permit files and hopefully tie it all to the GIS, etc. So it's a big capital expense. A lot of man hours that we'll have to go into doing some of that work to digitize and get things. So we're getting estimates now, working on putting a package together so that we can have something to provide to the board of selectmen for discussion. So we'll see where that goes. But as soon as I have a more solid number, probably next month, I'll put the budget on the agenda for more discussion with the commission. I will note that the planning commission's agenda budget was commingled with the planning department's budget. I'm not sure, I haven't heard any discussion about commingling this budget with the planning department's budget. I don't know that people want to necessarily do that either. That's all I have at this time. I don't know if you have any other questions for me.
Did you look at the Overbrook property?
I did. I saw significant, I had to pursue that. So
Okay.
That unfortunately looks nice. A lot of work. It's going to be after the fact permit.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what's ultimately going to happen there at some level. So, but I did visit the site. Just got to get the paperwork out.
Okay.
I was debating whether to, I don't think I'm going to issue a cease and desist order. I think immediately, require them to come in and just say, hey, why am I not in violation? I mean, there is one way to handle it. I don't know that you make friends that way, but not that I'm looking to make friends. I'm just saying, hey,
Yeah,
get
no,
more
right.
cooperation, more bees with honey. So
Right.
it's easier to say, okay, just make application for the work that was done.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe through that review, if we saw something that was significantly adverse, we could correct it.
Mm-hmm.
That changed, actually. And that we had no cooperation.
Yeah, agreed. And it looks like maybe some test pits on Fairhaven Road. Was it Fairhaven 156? Right by the.
Fairhaven goes up by the pump station.
Am I thinking of the right road? What? It's
Fairhaven
156.
Goes up along the river towards Giant's Neck.
Yeah, between there and Guy's Oil, there's that big property. If you're driving like into town on the right, it was for sale for a while, and that looks like maybe some test pits
out there.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know about test pits.
I mean, just looking from the road, it looks like some activity is going on back there.
Okay. I know that there's some activity along on Route 156, right across from Pond Cliff. Right
Yes,
behind,
right there. Yeah.
Oh, right there. That's state work that's going on.
Oh, it is.
State.
Okay.
So, yes, it requires permitting, but through DEP.
Okay.
I looked at it, and I reached out to our public works department. They told me the state is doing that work. I said, well, they must have a subcontractor there, because I haven't seen a single state vehicle. That had me a little bit worried, but Bill Scheer indicated that it was the state DOT doing the work. That said, they permit themselves through DEP. They're supposed to anyway. They have a whole environmental division that does their permitting through DEP. So I'm going to try to track that down, because I didn't see any erosion controls or anything like that. I just saw the machine. So I just want to make sure at the bottom of that slope that there's something that I'm not going to have to inspect the site. But I'll try to get by there tomorrow and look at that specifically. And then track down whoever at DOT is responsible for authorizing.
Yeah, and what they're even doing. I know it was for sale, and I wasn't sure if that was a part of that or not. That property was for sale.
Oh, okay. I'm not aware of that.
Wasn't there? Was for sale,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a big white, red, and
Oh, yeah,
blue.
that property was purchased by Brazil.
Okay. So this work is.
Separate. This is Connecticut DOT. You're talking about the working like at
Yeah.
Culver.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how much property was there that they purchased or who purchased or what.
Yeah, Bill, I think there were some issues, he was saying, along the road where DOT actually thought the town water main had busted and was undermining, creating potholes, when in fact we went out there with our equipment, determined that our main was not leaking, and something else was going on. And I think it had to do with the stream flow and undermining the road or something.
Oh yeah, because that whole stretch of road is different now. It's like repaved differently.
It did some work out.
Okay.
There.
All right,
So there's
that makes
work
sense.
going on with that, but I'll try to get more information on that.
Okay. All right. 9:20. Draft inland wetlands watercourses regulations ongoing. Let's leave it on this
Yeah,
agenda so we can.
Yeah, that would be great if we can have some discussion. I did talk to Sam about maybe reaching out to both you and Greg about setting up a meeting, maybe we do a Zoom.
Yeah.
And we can start working on the language.
Sounds good.
Get the ball rolling.
Perfect. All right, correspondence. All covered.
Right now.
All right, so I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
9:17.
Yes, I-
All right.
Wait, can you?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so if I have questions or responses to things that were said in the meeting today, when is an appropriate time to do that? I didn't think that it was appropriate to say.
Yeah, so I hate to say next meeting, but at public delegations, you
Okay.
can come and speak then. If
At
you
the
wanna
start.
Actually get on the agenda as an agenda item, you can send an email with your request, I'll forward it to Kristen, and then really ultimately the chair's decision as they prepare, as the agenda is prepared, so what goes on it and what doesn't. But yeah, we can put the matter on as an agenda item, or you could just discuss it at public delegations. Note that at public delegations, they're not going to enter into discussion with you. So if you wanted to have a back and forth, I'd recommend being an agenda item. Again, they enlisted more company as an agenda item.
Yeah, we can discuss.
If you want, you can give me a call, we can discuss it, and then you can decide how you want to proceed.
That sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Does our adjournment hold? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.